to help bring bees back.
I'm Jason Schultz. Come with me to New England, where the history of many farms stretches back hundreds of years. I'll introduce you to a farm family that's seen some great times and struggled through some tough times, all with the goal of keeping their farm alive.
Hi, I'm Kristen Samos. We're taking you to school in Big Sky Country, and this lesson is all about good horsemanship for the animal and the rider. Saddle up for a one-of-a-kind ranching adventure in Montana.
I'm Rob Stewart. We've got a unique ranching story for you this time. It's not about cattle. We're taking you to Arkansas to a ranch that is bustling with buffalo. That's all coming up next, right here on America's Heartland.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand. In America's heartland, living close to the land.
When you think of bees, you think of that hard-working insect who brings us honey, but they actually do much more than that. They're essential in agriculture. Many successful crops depend on bee pollination. But bees are in trouble. Their numbers are declining, and experts aren't sure why. Here in Orange County, California, a major effort is underway to bring bees back. The first settlers to America brought European honeybees with them in the early 1600s.
The honeybee is our workhorse pollinator.
And bringing bees back, especially native varieties, is what's drawn habitat conservationists like Mace Vaughn to this carefully tended field in the hills outside Irvine, California. Vaughn wants these farmers and ranchers to know just how important all native pollinators are to producers.
Pollination is critical because many of our crops, if we look at apples, and pears, and plums, and cherries, and blueberries, strawberries, squash, melon, some of our tomato varieties, they need to have pollen move from one flower to another in order to be able to set fruit or to set seeds that we then eat.
In the past few years, beekeepers, farmers, and orchard owners have been facing a phenomenon called colony collapse disorder. While its causes are still unclear, the disorder can devastate entire hives, killing off millions of bees. That impact ultimately affects prices we pay at the supermarket.
With colony collapse disorder, there's been a major increase because of a shortage of bees in the price of renting hives. Back 10 years ago, we were probably talking $30 to $35 on average per hive. Today, we're talking about well over $100 a hive in many areas of the country.
California's almond crop alone depends on tens of thousands of beehives brought into the state each spring to pollinate 800,000 acres of almond trees. Farmers, scientists, and others in U.S. agriculture are mounting an effort to develop a unique pollinator partnership, promoting the growth of native plants on farms, orchards, and ranches all across America.
So what we've been doing is looking at how we can help rebuild populations of native pollinators, wild bees, moths, butterflies, insects, even some animals that provide value-added pollination services.
In the east, we find that native bees can potentially provide all of the pollination that's necessary on the vast majority of those farms.
Let's go down this way.
One candidate in this Southern California field is this surprising variety of native bee.
A lot of our native bees are really small, quite small compared to a honeybee. So this looks like one of our very small sweat bees.
Facilitating increased numbers of native pollinators, however, often demands that farmers and growers adjust the plants that populate their available landscape.
You create a habitat where beneficial insects can take up residence, come into the fields, provide pollination services that won't replace those that come from managed bees, but will supplement them.
In addition to bees, conservationist David Raitt says certain plants, including black sage, can attract other types of native pollinators.
Southern California has a high percentage of butterfly species that occur here and are really concentrated here, and so the black sage, as well as many others, will attract those particular species.
Restoring native habitat to attract a variety of pollinators can also prove beneficial to reducing soil erosion and improving water quality.
Part of what the project is all about is how do we structure and create an appreciation for, and more importantly, a commitment to create habitat and build up the populations of the native pollinators so that if there is a problem, we can still have an abundant supply of pollinating entities that can help make sure we still have food to eat.
While a solution is being sought for colony collapse disorder, developing a national program of native pollinators can provide options for protecting our food supply now and in the future.
Native pollinators are a great example of a specific solution that farmers and ranchers can deliver from the land. Farmers, ranchers, forest landowners aren't the source of problems, they're the source of solutions.
If you're wondering why honeybees make that buzzing sound, it's because their wings are fluttering at more than 11,000 times a minute. Their perception of visual movement is fast as well, about 6 times that of human beings. Were bees to watch a movie, they'd be able to differentiate individual frames being projected.
When you think about rodeos, competitive or recreational riding, even those equestrian events in the Olympics, you can see why proper training for a horse is important. Well, here at this Montana ranch, good horsemanship is all about the animal and the rider.
Get down on your rein and ask for her eye and use your foot at the same time. It doesn't matter how great a horses we raise, if we don't bring people up, young people up through with knowledge and horsemanship, you know, our industry won't last.
Lisa Anderson loves several things about managing Copper Spring Ranch, including working alongside her husband Brian and training and selling world-class horses.
Bring her back to a small circle looking between her ears.
It's a place where champion quarter horses are bred and trained, and where instructors like Lisa share their talents with the next generation of equestrian enthusiasts.
Working here, I get to be outdoors all the time. I get to be around horses, and being around people like Brian and Lisa who know horses.
Keep your feet out of her.
Tana Pena rides for her high school's rodeo team and looks forward to someday having a career involving horses. The high school senior works as a barn assistant at the ranch, earning some extra cash and picking up equine experience.
I get to learn just by watching them every day, just watching them out in the arena roping or working with the horses. I'm learning all the time, which is incredible.
See what I'm saying?
Like Tana, Kevin Peterson is on his school's rodeo team. Looking beyond college, Kevin sees a future in America's multi-billion-dollar horse industry.
We market all over the United States. We try to stay regionally focused with Montana, Idaho, Washington, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wyoming.
Kevin is a marketing major at Montana State University. His intern work, updating the ranch's website, earns him college credit and allows him to interact with the horses he's promoting.
Having the kids around, the younger generation, it just builds a positive attitude. They're excited about life, they're excited about their future, and it's just a happy place.
It's an attitude Lisa shares with owners Klein and Karen Gilhausen. The husband and wife team see the ranch as a way to take young riders and horses to championship levels in a variety of equestrian events.
To me, it's really important to help our young people to be successful and to be good role models for them and give them opportunities that they might not have otherwise.
Karen's daughter Aspen is also one of those learning more about the skills involved in riding. For other young people, a variety of internships give college students a chance to expand their knowledge in everything from veterinary medicine to marketing.
Okay, Jamie, do you want to start since you're on the end?
Lisa and her husband Brian see their jobs as providing the tools needed to excel in a number of forms of horsemanship. equally important is recognizing that excellence comes from a cooperative effort between animal and rider.
It's not just about how many wins you get or getting your name in the headlines. It's about loving these animals, getting them placed in the right hands with the right people so that they have great lives.
North America was home to members of the equine family way back in history, but those prehistoric horses ultimately became extinct. Spanish explorers brought horses back to the Americas in the 1500s. Many of the wild horses roaming the West today are descendants of those original breeds.
I'm Jason Schultz. Still ahead, I'll take you to Massachusetts, where one multi-generational farm family is very picky about their produce.
I'm Rob Stewart, and still ahead on America's Heartland, we're heading for Arkansas and a ranch raising some of the largest land animals in the entire country.
Hi, my name is Michael Freeling, and I have a question about agriculture. I grow a lot of vegetables in my garden, so I know a small amount of land can be pretty productive. But I was wondering, just how much food can be grown on the average farm?
Hey, we all love to get a great harvest when it comes to our home gardens, even if you're wondering what you're going to do with all of that zucchini. You may already know that American farmers are some of the most productive in the world, and that's one of the reasons that Americans, on average, spend a lot less for food than people in many parts of Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. But let's answer your question about production on the farm. Let's start with corn. Now, of course, it depends on your soil conditions, growing season, and weather. But on average, you can expect to get more than 150 bushels per acre when it comes to corn. Wheat, anywhere from 35 to 40 bushels an acre. Each bushel produces about 42 pounds of flour, and that makes a lot of bread and pasta. You'll get lots of potatoes from an acre of farmland, from 25 to 35,000 pounds. And what about something like cotton? Again, it depends on where you're planting, but an acre can produce more than 700 pounds of cotton. A bale of cotton weighs about 480 pounds. That's enough to make 200 pairs of blue jeans. And one more fact on production. In 1940, one farmer raised enough food to feed 19 people. Today, one farmer can produce enough food and fiber for 143 people. That's quite a jump.
How close are you to your family? Well, imagine working with your parents, your brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, even your children every day. The Hanson family just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, has been working together for generations, and the ups and downs of their lives are tightly intertwined with the farm that they work on.
It has to be very fresh.
Fresh isn't just a marketing buzzword for Tom Hanson. As he and his crew head out to harvest sweet corn on this fall morning just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, he's up against the clock.
There's a constant rotation trying to feed the farmers markets and the farm stand.
Hanson's farm has been in Tom's family since 1908, and the land has been farmed since 1715. Today, Tom, his wife Martha, son Matt, daughter Elizabeth, and even Martha's mother all help out on the farm in various roles.
It's hard work, and sometimes you're just wondering why you're doing all this. But I'm really glad they want to do it.
Come on, girls.
And the decisions made on this farm have a direct impact on the lives of the family, and sometimes an impact on who becomes part of the family. Like when, about 30 years ago, Tom was looking to help out with the bottom line by trying something new with his produce.
I did U-Pick, where you could come and pick your own vegetables here at the farm, or small fruit, you know, like strawberries or raspberries.
That decision brought someone special to the farm.
I got out of work early and I drove up here, and I'd always wanted to pick strawberries. That's how I met Tom, and he showed me around his farm, and eventually we went on a date, and 6 months later we were engaged.
But with good times also come bad. In 2009, Tom's son Matt and father Charles were involved in a serious farm accident.
So what happened was he was cutting corners, and he did something he always taught us never to do, which is to start a tractor on the ground. And both of them got run over. I almost lost my son that day too. But he was okay. He was banged up, but my father got his ribs stove in, and he died a couple weeks later. And I miss him to this day. It was very hard for Matt, who was there that day, and he really tried to save my dad best as he could, but it was difficult for him. And we were lucky. He just got banged up. He was okay. But I think for all of us, it kind of steeled us to pull together.
Today, this farm family is focused on staying a step ahead of trends in food and shopping tastes.
Thank you very much.
From catering to ethnic communities to marketing the locally grown and wholesome aspect of their produce.
About 15 years ago, something happened that there was all of a sudden a whole locally grown movement in the country, and it's kind of coming nationwide.
And diversifying the farm means trying new things like horse boarding. And as new family members get involved, they bring ideas.
Last year, my daughter wanted to get back into some of the farming aspect of it, and we came up with an idea of freshly squeezed lemonade. So she started a great business with doing freshly squeezed lemonade made to order at certain farmers markets.
I need a couple of my tablecloths.
Sure, help yourself. Things like CSA and farmers markets have been great for us right now. Yeah. But it may be something else 10 years from now. So you have to keep your mind open to that and keep evolving and that sort of thing.
We didn't spray it so much, and so there's going to be some worms, but just nip it off. Don't worry. They don't eat much.
So I really like getting out there and picking, and I also really like when we were at the farmers market today, just talking with my customers. A lot of times I'll see folks I haven't seen in a long time.
They're the hottest peppers in the world right there. Are they really? Yeah, they are.
You get a feel for what people are doing, and I don't spend enough time doing that, and I really enjoy that part of it.
I can't imagine it any other way. I really can. I can't imagine them not being right here. It's great. It's great to be able to get together, see each other all the time. We all get along really well. And I think a big part of that is because Tom's mom and dad set a really fine example for us when we first started farming.
I don't think we've done any strawberry pop.
We always were able to talk things out, work things out, and so I think we'll all make it. I'm sure we will.
I don't want to be anybody else, anywhere else, doing anything else. This is what I always wanted to do. My heroes were farmers growing up, and I love this place. So keeping it going for the next generation, that's what we're working on.
Are you a cookie fan? The Fig Newton gets its name from the town of Newton, Massachusetts. The original maker, a Boston cookie company, liked to name products after nearby communities. Of course, the Boston cream pie was invented in Massachusetts, and Clarence Birdseye is credited with developing frozen food in Gloucester, Massachusetts in the 1920s.
When we talk about ranching, cattle or sheep may come to mind. But did you know that a growing number of ranchers are raising buffalo all across this country? That includes a rancher in Arkansas, taking us along on a one-of-a-kind ranching experience. These hills in Marshall, Arkansas are home to Ratchford Farms, a sprawling 500-acre oasis of rolling grassland. And if you take a short drive through these green pastures, you'll find them blanketed with buffalo. Now, we'll be the first to say that an up-close encounter with the largest land animal in North America is not something to try in the wild. But ranch owner L.C. Ratchford felt confident that these animals, his breeding herd, could be approached safely. Can't believe we're going to do this.
Well, it's a lot of fun. We do it on a daily basis.
Right through the gate, the buffalo come running. Look at that. How fast can they run?
They can outrun a horse. They can go 35 to 40 miles an hour. Oh my gosh. This is a 3,000-pound male. This guy can go from a tame, docile animal like you see here to a wild animal with all the wild instincts of self-preservation within a heartbeat. Okay, well, let's keep it happy with food. There is a massive presence coming from these animals. You can just feel their weight. Oh, you can. They're very majestic. We as Europeans, as Americans, almost made them become extinct. And to me, that would have been such a waste. Hi there. Look at those horns. My goodness. Well, they have good breath. Oh, yes. I'm not kidding.
The American buffalo, or bison, was nearly hunted to extinction in the 1800s. With some herds ultimately protected in national parks, their numbers grew. In the past 20 years, ranchers have initiated new herds or expanded their existing stock, benefiting from a growing consumer demand for low-fat, grass-fed, and sustainable meat.
When I was just a youngster, I watched a show on PBS. It showed the buffalo. I knew that there was a connection. I knew I had to raise them someday.
Buffalo can live from 20 to 25 years. Each year, about half of these animals will reproduce. Once fully grown, they will be processed for their meat, and LC's is some of the most popular in the area.
So I went from one store almost 12 years ago to we have got well over 700 stores that sell our snack sticks, our jerky, summer sausage, as well as some burgers, some steaks. Just got a call earlier today of a big place in Texas and another one in Tennessee that want to start carrying our stuff. Look at that view over there. Oh, it is spectacular.
Ranching has deep roots here at Ratchford Farms. Elsie's great-grandfather raised cattle, and descendants of those original cows still graze this land.
I see your cows are following us. Oh yes, that's we use very passive means in dealing with our cattle, no different than dealing with the buffalo.
Elsie still raises about 100 cows, but adding buffalo to his farm changed his life forever.
I think that they embody the United States. I think that they embody what we stand for as a country. They're very majestic, they're hardy, they're survivors.
LC has one more place he wants you to see. He says it is his favorite view on earth, the bottom of the valley where his parents once plowed this land with mules.
What does it mean to you to have this? It means everything. I consider myself so lucky. The ability to come out here to enjoy these things. I consider myself very rich, not necessarily monetarily, but in just the way of life. Some people, I think, have a certain illusion that wealth is money, power. To me, it's just my 500 acres, my herd of buffalo, my family, to be living here in Arkansas. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And that's going to do it for us this time. We thank you for traveling the country with us on this edition of America's Heartland as we find interesting people and places to share with you.
And don't forget, you can stay in touch with us 24/7. We make it easy for you. You can find us on some of your favorite sites. You can also find all of our stories and video on our website, americasheartland.org. We'll see you next time, right here on America's Heartland.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland, living close to the land.
This is Maryland, a beautiful, geographically diverse state with more tidal shoreline, if you include islands in the Chesapeake, than the entire eastern seaboard from Maine to Florida, over 4,000 miles. Flat farming and coastal plain in the east, the rugged Allegheny Mountains in the west. Over 46% of Maryland is forest, a remarkable place made even more so by the people who live here. Annapolis, the capital of Maryland, rich in culture and history, is without question one of the most quaint communities on the eastern seaboard. One of the original 13 colonies, it was the 7th state to ratify the Constitution, April 28, 1788. From November 26, 1783 to June 3, 1784, Annapolis served as a United States capital. The Continental Congress met in the Maryland State House, which is the oldest state capitol in continuous legislative use. In the sailing capital of the world, the first American sailing school.
Well, we've been around since 1959. We were founded by Jerry Wood and his wife Kathy. We were the first sailing school in America, so we're kind of a pioneer in the industry.
Okay, good. Now let's cleat off.
Basically, our goal here is to bring sailing to everybody, anyone who's interested, regardless of who you are or what you do, regardless of skill level, everything from basic up to advanced navigation and offshore sailing as well.
Leisure and recreation is embraced enthusiastically in Maryland. Ocean City beaches and nearby barrier islands are not only Maryland's playground, but also that of Washington, D.C. and other large communities within easy drive. It's a huge resort, 10,000 hotel rooms, and 25,000 condominiums on and near the beach. The popularity of camping, seeing America first, and recreation vehicles of all kinds for adults and families of all ages is ever so present here along the eastern seaboard. One campground alone has 500 spaces, a waterfront theme park with western shows, water slides, pools, and even a marina. Maryland's watermen have for generations harvested the bounty of Chesapeake Bay, oysters, mussels, clams, crabs, and a variety of fish, the demand for which far exceeds what the bay can now produce. The romance of a time-honored way of life in collision with reality. A waterman's day begins early. Blue crab is one of the most important species harvested in the bay, the Chesapeake's last great fishery. Baltimore, the state's largest city, was settled in the early 17th century and has been an important port throughout its history. The city's inner harbor area has been revitalized, transformed to a vibrant center for the best the city has to offer. Culturally, there are over 30 museums within 20 miles of downtown, many of which are within walking distance from the harbor. Baltimore is home to many baseball legends, in addition to the Sultan of SWAT, Babe Ruth, Cal Ripken Jr., Lefty Grove, Frank Home Run Baker, Harold Baines, and Jimmy Fox are just a few of the hometown heroes. Camden Yards, one of baseball's great stadiums, is home to the Baltimore Orioles. Built in 1992 in an old railroad area, center field is on top of Babe Ruth's childhood home, where his father ran the family